Hey, what's up? I'm Rafael Di Furia, aka Rafi D is me, and I am back at it again on another beautiful Friday night. And this week we are going to be speaking about something that I get a lot of questions about. Yet another thing I get a lot of questions about. Again, I am sorry if I don't respond to your email or if I'm not able to respond to any messages that you send me. I get hundreds per month. Even though my channel is still pretty small, I get a lot of questions, and I'm sorry that I'm not able to get to all of them, but that's why I try to include as many as I can into my videos. And this week we are going to be talking about not necessarily one question that I get, but a whole grouping of questions that I get about if there's a way to make citizenship go faster, if there's a way to get citizenship faster, or if there are any cheat codes or shortcuts to this process. But before we get too much deeper into the video, if you would like to see more content like this about moving to Italy, Italian dual citizenship, and living life abroad, please be sure to subscribe with that notification bell turned on. And if you could also give this video a like, I would really appreciate it, as it does help out the channel. And if you would like to help out the channel, if you found any of my videos helpful in any way, or if you've just enjoyed them and you would like to help me make more videos like this possible, please consider becoming a monthly patron. You can go to rafaeldifuria.com/Patreon, or you can go to rafaeldifuria.com/support if you want to just help out once. All of the links are down in the more info section below. Some of the questions that I get in regards to making the process faster are: if I buy property, if I make a donation, if I invest, if I have family in Italy, or if I do something, is there a way to make this go faster? And no, the short answer is absolutely there is no way. But if we are talking about Jure Sanguinis, this is the shortcut. If we're talking about Jure Matrimonii, that's also another shortcut. Or if we're talking about residing in Italy for 3 years because you had an Italian grandparent or an Italian parent and they lost their citizenship before you were born or before your parents were born, that's also another shortcut. Because remember, when we're talking about getting Italian citizenship, it requires residing in the country for at least 10 years, plus then the process on top before naturalization can even happen. And now that number is bumped up to 4 years, at least. So we're talking about, in general, pretty much, even though it's only having to reside in Italy for 10 years, you wouldn't really be a citizen until 14 years down the line. And the only other way of making things go faster is potentially by applying in Italy, like especially if you're coming from a place like Los Angeles, Sao Paulo, Porto Alegre, and any other consulate with a known long time for waiting for an appointment, then absolutely thinking about applying in Italy, if you're serious, if you're really serious about moving to Italy and making this happen, is worth considering. I realize there are a lot of people who are not interested in getting Italian citizenship to move to Italy, and a lot of people are interested in just the kind of nice, warm, fuzzy feelings of connecting with their homeland. I'm not saying there's anything bad with that, but it might be something that does kind of bog down the system for the people who are actually wanting to move to Italy and make that happen. Because citizenship, and please don't misunderstand me, if you're wanting to get Italian citizenship for the connection with your motherland, I think it's actually a great thing that that's an option for you, and that would give your children an option, that would give your grandchildren and so on the option of being Italian citizens, at least with the way that the laws are set up now. But citizenship is a very serious thing. It's not just kind of like, oh, I have this piece of paper now. It's no, you are a citizen. You have certain obligations, even though having those obligations doesn't mean you have anything to really do, especially if you're an Italian citizen living in America. It's not like being an American citizen living in Italy. You don't have necessarily the same tax obligations and all of these sorts of things. And even the obligation of being an Italian citizen living abroad, it's very minimal. Basically, it's just being proud of who you are and making sure you have the pride in the culture and the cuisine, and that you speak the beautiful stories of this wonderful motherland. But seriously, though, it is something that I do have mixed feelings about, because I know there are a lot of people who would like to make a petition for citizenship before relocating and moving their whole life to a whole new country, because there are bumps in the road that you can hit, and that could even hold you back from getting citizenship. And currently, with the way that everything works, you're not even allowed to work while you're going through the citizenship process. So that's why I do have some mixed feelings about it, but at the same time, I do think it's a great thing to be able to reconnect. Also, one of the other reasons why I do think that applying in Italy is a good option if you can is because, for example, with the wait in Los Angeles now having gone up to, I think, about 10 years. And even only last year in 2018, the beginning of the year, it was only about a 3-year wait. And it's gone up, or maybe it was 4 years, something, I forget exactly, but it's gone up exponentially very quickly. And so we know what the rules are now for citizenship, for reacquisition, for recognition of citizenship through ancestry, through Jure Sanguinis and through Jure Matrimonii. But the laws are always going to be changing, and we know what exists now. And if you're eligible under Jure Matrimonii or Jure Sanguinis today, that doesn't necessarily mean that you'll be eligible to make a petition in 10 years from now or potentially 20 years from now. There is no time like the present, and that is absolutely true for citizenship. Because of the political situation in Italy, whenever the migrant situation comes up, the topic of citizenship always comes up. But I'm not somebody who thinks that Jure Sanguinis will be completely taken away or blocked anytime in the near future. But I do see that it probably will be modified as time goes on. And so that could mean generational limits, XYZ could come into play. To me, it's not so much a question of if, it's just more about when. Could it be this year? Could it be 5 years from now? Could it be 10 years from now? 15 years from now? Who knows? When it comes to Jure Sanguinis, though, I think it's one of those things that's going to be not really touched so much. I think there's a lot of interest to try to keep it the way that it is, especially because it's the basis of so much of Italian law. And once you start messing with Jure Sanguinis, then you start affecting all other different parts of Italian law. And it makes things a lot more complicated, and you have to kind of flip the system upside down. But if you're wanting to purchase property in the country, some people have asked me the question, if I own property in Italy, will that help me get a visa? Will that help me get citizenship? Will that help you with Jure Sanguinis? No. One of the reasons why I've heard is that if there's any sort of financial transaction that happens for somebody to gain citizenship, that might be seen as a bribe. And so that's why also making a donation to a comune for them to be able to rebuild or for them to be able to do XYZ could be seen as a bribe, and that could end up hurting you and hurting your process. But is purchasing property to get a visa for Italy, is that something that might help you? Maybe. It's not something that will guarantee you the ability to stay in the country. However, from what I've heard, is it may look good on your application to own some property here. Or one other possible way of getting a visa is to apply for a self-employment visa or a startup visa. But these are very, very difficult to come by. But if you're in the position to be able to do it, it could be a faster way of getting into the country. But if you're from outside of the EU and without Italian ancestry, it would require 10 years of residency plus the processing time for you to get citizenship. But if you're from the EU, it would be 4 years plus processing time. So when it really comes down to it, no, unfortunately, there aren't really any shortcuts, but the system in place for people of Italian descent, those are the shortcuts. That's how it happens. That's the easiest way in. And when we're talking about easiest, we're talking about relatively here, because nobody that's involved with the Jure Sanguinis community will ever debate that it's an easy process. Nobody will ever make that argument. I would like to see one day, of course, that somebody could make that argument, but as it stands right now, yeah, no, not so much. But the only type of shortcut that I could think of that could come into play for somebody is if they're wanting to go through Jure Sanguinis, not for the process itself, but to be able to start working in the country, is if you can find yourself a job here and get them to sponsor a visa for you, or if you work for an international company and they can transfer you to Italy with a work visa, that would get you in the country able to work from the get-go. And then while you're on that type of visa, then you could start applying for Jure Sanguinis. So in that way, then okay, you would be able to work. But if you're coming to Italy and you're getting the permesso di soggiorno for the purposes of citizenship, then it's going to be a bit more difficult. It almost seems like it's more stacked towards people who are retired or going to be retired when they come here, which is unfortunate because I know there are a lot of younger people who would love to come to Italy, who would love to just hit the ground running and get their lives going and moving here. But I know there are people who are waiting for jobs before they even start applying for citizenship. citizenship. But I know there are people who are waiting for their citizenship before they even start applying for jobs, because it can actually be easier to get a job as a citizen than as a non-citizen. But of course, it depends on your language skills. It's not that it necessarily makes it easier to get the job, but it may make it more attractive for a future employer if you are already a citizen of the country. It's not easy to get a job that will be willing to sponsor a visa. But maybe there's something that I missed. So I'll pose a question to you guys. Are there any shortcuts that you've heard of that have worked? Or have you tried anything that's made the process go a little faster for you? And I know there are going to be consulates and comunes that are faster to go with and slower to go with. So beyond that, because the situation with those will always be changing. So I would say that while it could be a shortcut, or it could have been a shortcut for you, it's probably not going to be something that people can rely on in the long term, or even not. Was there anything that you felt helped you during your process? Of course, I'm very curious to hear anything that you have to add to the conversation, or if you have any questions about anything else, feel free to leave those down in the comment section below. And of course, if you would like to see more content like this about moving to Italy, Italian dual citizenship, and living life abroad, please be sure to subscribe with that notification bell turned on. And if you could also give this video a like, I would really appreciate it, as it does help the channel grow. And if you would like to help the channel and help me make more videos like this possible, if you felt like any of these videos have helped you in any way, or if you've just enjoyed them, please consider becoming a monthly patron. You can go to rafaeldifuria.com/Patreon, or if you would like to help out just one time, you can go to rafaeldifuria.com/support. And for shirts, baby onesies, mugs, and more, you can go to rafaeldifuria.com/NYAG gear. All of the links are down in the more info section below. And as always, I'm Rafael Di Furia, aka Rafi D is me, and thank you for joining me on another beautiful, wonderful Friday night. I hope you all have a fantastic weekend, and I look forward to seeing you all next Friday. Have a great one. Later.